Red Line. Red Line. Awesome anime movie Red Line? Is that the Red Line? I thought red lines were illegal. This is 2022, sir. No time for racism, no red lines. And why does it have no magnetism? Where is the magnetism? And why do other islands have magnetism but no red line magnetism? If the skull on Onigashima was a living giant, where is his body? What is the real purpose behind the road, instructional, and historical poneglyphs? Which myths did Oda maybe draw inspiration from to connect all of these together? Through Oda's classic literary convention, two sides of the same coin, except the first two. I actually have evidence for those two. All this and more with a gun and a skull. Bang, 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 ba-bang, bang, 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 bang. Stolen bit, stolen bit, stolen bit. So the first question, is that subscribe button gray? If it ain't, you're allowed to abuse it today. Please tell it to fight back. The second question, I'm kidding. I don't condone abuse against living things. It's a subscribe button. Go beat the shit out of it. Let me make money for free. It's free on your part. The real first question is, what is the Grand Line? In chapter 604, Nami explains to us that the Grand Line is essentially a huge connection of islands all like fused together. There are some summer islands, some spring islands, some winter islands, all having their own designated area. But it gives off no magnetic field. That's why the log pose pointed to Fishman Island as their next island to go to as the Straw Hats continued their journey to the end of the Grand Line. This means that the islands are made up of a different material than the rest of the world. The reddish hue of the red line looks awfully sus, especially if you take into account that you're probably not subscribed. Change that for me. I'm kidding. This means that the islands are made up of a different material than the rest of the world. The reddish hue on the red line, it implies that underwater sea volcano vents are beneath the red line. I would like to introduce you to Cinnabar, a non-magnetic stone that is mined from underwater volcanic ore deposits. But underwater volcanoes are everywhere, Tachii. Yes, but the magnetism of the island implies a different substance. Plus, it's the only navigation system currently, since we don't see stars anywhere. How fitting is it that the last island on the Grand Line, you can't navigate to Laughtail from Lodestar with a log pose. I know it's called Roadstar in some translations, and Lodestar's etymological root being lode implies lodestone being the core substance that makes up these islands, a naturally occurring magnet. Seeing the picture now, Roger begged Whitebeard to borrow Odin for a year because Laughtail could not be navigated to. The earliest documented instances of piracy are the exploits of a group called the Sea Peoples. That's it, they were just called the Sea Peoples, who threatened ships sailing in the Aegean and Mediterranean seas in the 14th century BC. In classic antiquity, the Phoenicians, Illyrians, and Tyrrhenians were also known as pirates. But more on this Sea Peoples thing. The Sea Peoples are a hypothesized seafaring confederation that attacked the ancient Egyptians and other regions in the East Mediterranean prior to and during the late Bronze Age collapse. Following the creation of the concept in the 19th century, the Sea Peoples incursions became one of the most famous chapters of Egyptian history. Oda established for us two concepts that we see in both major factions in the One Piece world: the Marines and the Pirates in the Romance Dawn pilot. Peace Mains and Morganeers. Obviously, Marines such as the Kainu would fall under Morganeers, and Marines formerly known as Kuzan would fall under Peace Mains. Same applies for pirates. You got Luffy, and you have Blackbeard. Peace Main, Morganeer. Dory and Broggy state the only thing that they couldn't pierce is a snake soaked in blood, prior to their Hakoku sovereignty, which is warrior nation sovereignty. A similarly named move from Big Mom and Kaido, ocean sovereignty, which they just shortened it to Conquest of the Sea, or Hakai in the anime, that the absolute beast Killer Zoro, I'm labeling him that, On this channel, he is Beast Killer Zoro. Tanked it like an absolute unit. Anyways, tangent over. Dorian Broggy saying this is very interesting because it implies that the ancient giants have passed on the will to pierce through the red line to the island whales, because Dorian Broggy state that they couldn't do it. And remember Laboon? He left his pod as a child to travel with the Rumbar pirates. Every single island whale that we have seen has scars from trying to fatality the shit out of the red line. That will was passed on from the giants. It also implies that the giants were trying to destroy the red line for thousands of years, and they succeeded. A little bit. By making a hole at the top of Reverse Mountain and a hole at the bottom to travel to Fishman Island. Creating 2 out of the 3 ways to pass through the red line and continue your own voyage. One way is going up the Reverse Mountain, typically used by pirates to enter the Grand Line. Another way is by gaining permission from the world government to pass through the Holy Land of Mir Joyce, which was initially the only way to get through the Red Line. Though this route means that your crew would have to leave their ship behind and get a new one on the other side. Finally, a crew could get their ship coated by the greatest coder of all time, Silver Israeli, allowing it to submerge down to Fishman Island, allowing them to reach a gigantic hole. Though in the grand scheme of things, the hole is actually very tiny at the bottom of the red line. That links directly between Paradise and the New World. Now factor in that there was a race that lived atop the red line long ago, before Mary Joyce was even built, and it was known as the Land of the Gods. Their unique attributes are that they have black feathery wings, dark skin, white hair, and the natural ability to generate flames from their body. This race is widely believed to be extinct, and its only living member is King, and maybe Sanji a little bit, but that's just due to Nazi science and a little bit of my headcanon. This implies that the Red Line was there on the planet for more than 900 years, and at the bare minimum at least 1,000. Because Laugh-Tale is a Cinnabar Island, baby. Oh yeah, we're gonna probably see a Dr. Blaine there. I'm kidding, I'm memeing, but not really. Like, Laugh-Tale is going to be either an island or an island on the moon, but it will be made of Cinnabar. So why does any of this shit that I say matter? Well, it matters a lot. Especially if, in my personal belief, that the Red Line was just a memorial grave for the Joy Boy Oars. The Joy Boy whose skull resides in Wano and is named currently Onigashima. A very popular and probably accurate theory in the community, but it raises a huge question. If his head is in Wano, where the hell is his body? And was that sword in Wano responsible for the decapitation? Well, in 2020, a full map was published in One Piece Magazine Volume 9. This map includes a location called Corkwood, or Kokudo, a cliff with a height of 10 kilometers in the air, near Reverse Mountain. Oda has been rubbing his hands and plotting and scheming for over 25 years, just laughing at us, not putting the dots together. But I'm gonna give it the good old college try, alright? So first nexus point. If you take 2 D's, you make a boob size. I'm kidding. Also, you get the letter O and the Greek letter phi. And I'm just gonna scroll through every usage and meaning of phi. And every other circle with a line through it, rotated, their meanings as well, are gonna be scrolling in the background as I continue. There are only 13 poneglyphs that you realistically need in order to find Laugh-Tale and the true history of the world. Now what sun-related deity starts with the letter O and is associated with being in 13 pieces, or at least their message being in pieces? Osiris, son of the sun god Ra. He was killed by his brother Set. He was cut into 14 pieces and scattered throughout the land. And it is said that wherever a piece of Osiris landed, that a temple grew and was founded. The Egyptians acted out this myth by building temples and pyramids at locations of Orion constellations mirrored around the Nile River presumed to be the mirror of the Milky Way. A synopsis of the myth is that Osiris died because Set thought that Osiris was cheating with Set's wife Nephthys, the twin sister of Isis, which resulted from a mistaken twin identity confusion. Set cuts Osiris into 14 pieces, throws his body into the Nile River. The 14th piece of him gets eaten by a fish. Isis, his wife, goes around and collects the 13 remaining pieces and makes a mummy to bring Osiris back, but she's missing the 14th piece. The last piece, his D. So she cuts off her own thumb to represent his ding-dong. Another version says that a golden phallus was made. Isis turns into a kite, a type of bird, and then uses the magical power of her and Thoth, another Egyptian god, during the Black Rite, during which time stops. They have magical Black Rite coitus, and the seed of Osiris is passed into Isis. Osiris then re-dies, so he dies again, and goes into the afterlife to be the presiding god in the judgment hall during the weighing of souls. Isis gives birth to Horus, and this myth is the basis of the Christian resurrection story. So you have Set, represented by the allied world nobles, who killed Osiris, the ancient kingdom, and Joy Boy separated 13 poneglyphs and 13 other poneglyphs, so 26 poneglyphs were scattered throughout the world to reveal the true history of what happened, and his final piece being the one piece he left behind. Each of these poneglyphs contain a literal aspect of Joy Boy in them. This video isn't breaking down all of them, but only one, and I believe that the last island, Laugh-Tale, there is another poneglyph, but it's an instructional one, probably gold, containing the literal heart of the Joy Boy Ors. This is an expansion, because Ors' skull is still on Onigashima. So why was Roger too early? Well, he couldn't beat the poneglyph like a drum to the rhythm of the drums of liberation, because Roger's never heard it. No one in Roger's era heard the drums of liberation, because Joy Boy's literal heart is in that poneglyph on Laugh-Tale, and according to Luffy on Roof Piece, all you need is Conqueror's Haki and the Necro Fruit to basically revive yourself from near death or exhaustion. Luffy's X on his chest is the perfect foreshadowing tool for this. An X marks the spot of the treasure, and if the first Ors was buried within the fusion of continents on the side he tampered with, he would have instantly created the All Blue just from awakening that sleeping giant. The final war of the world would begin instantly the second they get to Laugh-Tale. And I think that's a perfect narrative device, because I think they're going to get to Laugh-Tale first before the war with Emu, because that was Rayleigh basically saying, hey, Luffy, whenever you get to Laugh-Tale, you have a decision to make whether you legitimately want to turn the world upside down or not. The Frozen Giants in Punk Hazard is a perfect allegory of what I'm trying to propose here. The red line has ancient giant Onis inside of the reverse mountain side of the world. And now let me solidify the Ors the First and Osiris connection. Being a Joy Boy, Ors would bring smiles and laughter like all good Joy Boys do. Osiris even had festivals, symbolically reenacting the god's fate, were celebrated annually in various towns throughout Egypt. A central feature of the festivals during the late period was the construction of the Osiris Garden, a mold in the shape of Osiris filled with soil. The mold was moistened with the water of the Nile and sown with grain. Later, the sprouting grain symbolized the vital strength of Osiris. Are you taking that in? The Osiris Garden is the red line. And as civilization change, the names of the gods they worship change. Anyways, at Memphis, the holy bull Apis was linked with Osiris, not not Memphis, Tennessee, there was an ancient society of people called the Memphites. And they associated their own holy bull, their sacred golden cow, with the death god, the god of the underworld, son of the sun god Osiris, which became Osiris Apis, which eventually became the name of the Hellenistic god Serapis. Greco-Roman authors connected Osiris with the god Dionysus. Osiris was also identified with Soker, an ancient Memphite god of the dead, first encountered at Memphis, where his cult was celebrated in association with that of the sacred Egyptian bull Apis, who was later called Osorapis when deceased. He was thus originally a god of the underworld, but was reintroduced as a new deity. He got a new brand spanking new title, with many Hellenic aspects, by Ptolemy I Soter, who centered the worship of the deity at Alexandria. The same Alexandria where the library, who was burnt down by Templars, caused a global recession of information and technology by 2,000 years, and a massive decline in academic and research and study in that area. Sounds a lot like what happened to the original ancient kingdom, huh? And the Joy Boys throughout the eras as well, huh? Final nails in the Egypt and the ancient kingdom connection. The Egyptians considered Orion, the Orion Nebula in the sky, to be the final resting place of Osiris, after he was murdered and cut into 14 pieces and scattered throughout the land by his evil brother Set. In the Odyssey, Orion is essentially the pinnacle of human excellence in hunting. Odysseus sees him hunting in the world with a bronze club, a great slayer of animals. In some legends, Orion claims to be able to hunt any animal in existence. He is also mentioned as constellation, as the lover of the goddess Dawn, as slain by Artemis in jealousy, who is the goddess of the moon. And Orion was known to be the most handsome of the earthborn. The earliest story concerning Orion was recorded by Sumerians, who ruled the southernmost region of Mesopotamia, or the land lying between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. To this urban civilization, the constellation represented their hero, Gilgamesh, the prototype hero of all myths, the big daddy that basically created what a hero's journey was. And his exploits were immortalized in the first surviving piece of heroic literature called the Epic of Gilgamesh. 3 different legends from the same worshipped name. That's crazy, guys. Orion died stepping on a scorpion, and the gods felt so bad that they made a stick figure, his belt, and his dogs a constellation. In summation, 13 poneglyphs are needed to learn the real history of the world and to get to Laugh-Tale. There is one last poneglyph at Laugh-Tale, which is an instructional poneglyph, which was the final message from Joy Boy that caused Roger to laugh, because the request on the instructional poneglyph was so far-fetched that he would love to have been able to see it. So when Luffy gets there and it reads that message, he isn't really gonna laugh. He'll laugh after he beats on the drums, causing the ancient giant ores to awaken from the red line, causing the destruction of it via a song. The last poneglyph will have Joy Boy's actual heart inside of that poneglyph.